This plus this equals dessert. Let me show you how. Hey, Chef Dez coming at you from my kitchen. Corporate chef of BC Egg. Yeah, we're gonna make blueberry bread pudding. So bread pudding is amazing. I'm gonna show you a great way how to make it, my way though. Okay, so we're gonna start off with a fresh loaf of French bread. So a 1 pound loaf, 454 gram of French bread. And all you're gonna do is you're gonna tear it up into 1 or 2 inch segments, okay? Doesn't really matter. This is a great thing to get your kids to do if you have kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, whatever. Give them a loaf of bread and say, hey, just tear it up and put it on a baking sheet. They'll have so much fun doing this, but really there's no right or wrong way. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna toast these bread pieces in the oven. And normally a bread pudding was originally made with a stale loaf of bread. They had this stale loaf of bread and they thought, you know what, I don't wanna throw it out, don't wanna waste my money. What are we gonna do with it? So they soaked it with a custard and turned it into dessert. And you can do that, but I find by working with a stale loaf of bread, well, it kind of tastes stale. So I like to work with a fresh loaf of bread, and we're going to toast it in the oven instead. Okay, so again, just go through, tear this up. All right, then just make sure it's a nice level layer of bread on the baking sheet. Have your oven preheated at 400 degrees. We're gonna pop that in there for about 10 minutes and we'll toss it about halfway through. So 5 minutes, toss, and then another 5 minutes. All right, while those bread pieces are in the oven, let's take our baking pan, so a 9 by 13 baking pan, and we're just gonna take a little bit of butter and butter it just to help the bread pudding release, okay? You can use a paper towel if you don't want to use your fingers. I just find it's just as easy to get in there with my fingers and do that. So about a couple tablespoons of butter. Make sure you get right into the corners and all the edges. All right, let's take them out. So that was 5 minutes. You can see that they're just starting to get toasty a little bit. And all we do is we just shuffle them around so we have more areas of the bread that are going to get toasty. A great thing about doing this is a couple of different things. You caramelize the natural sugars in the starch, which makes it taste better. And that's why always a piece of toast tastes better than a piece of bread. And you're also eliminating moisture content from the bread to make it more absorbent for the custard when we introduce the custard to it. So we just toss them around. That was 5 minutes. Let's put them back in at 400 degrees for another 5 minutes. There's our 10 minutes total. Before we do anything else, we want to reduce our oven temperature to 350 degrees. That's what we're gonna bake our bread pudding at. Okay, let's make our custard. So in a large bowl, we're gonna start out with 4 large BC eggs. Always remember, BC eggs have 14 key nutrients, all 9 essential amino acids, and every single large egg has 6 grams of the highest quality protein you can get, and only 80 calories per egg. So we're gonna start with our BC eggs. And 4. Sugar, gotta have sugar in the dessert. Vanilla extract, cinnamon, and a little bit of salt. And we're just gonna bring that together, okay? To that, we're gonna add the zest of 2 lemons. So just got a little microplane grater here. If you wanna use a zesting tool, then chop it up really fine on a board, you can do that as well. But I find in this case, it's really handy to use the grater. And we're just going to take the yellow part of the lemon, which is called the zest, into our custard. Make sure you're not going too far and you're getting the white part. That's called the pith. That's actually kind of bitter. And we're just gonna blend that in. That's the beginnings of our custard. To make it a full custard now, we need to add 2 cups of 10% milk fat cream. This is your standard half and half. Some people call it cremo. And 2 cups of milk. Blend that together and you have a full custard now. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our bread pieces and put them in the custard. Nice and toasty. And make sure you get all the crumbs too. Tip your pan, get them all in there. Get in there with your hands now and get them into the custard, okay? You can rotate them around, but you really want these bread pieces to soak up the custard. And push them in. Ideally, you want to let that sit for 10 minutes, okay? Really let the bread soak up the custard. But you can rush it a little bit if you're in a hurry by just taking it right away and putting in the pan. We're going to be building a blueberry bread pudding. So what I want to have happen in this recipe is some blueberries all the way throughout. So how we're going to achieve that is we're going to take half of this bread mixture and put it in there, spread it around evenly, put in some blueberries, put the other half of the bread, and then more blueberries on top. That way you have that presentation of blueberries when you first take it out and you're serving it. People will know for sure that it's a blueberry bread pudding because you're going to see all the blueberries, but you're going to have blueberries all the way throughout. An easy way to estimate half of this bread to go in here, instead of just guessing, you're taking it out, and you're thinking, oh, do I have half yet or not? Here's a really great tip for you. Level it out, take your hand, and just put a line in there so you divide it in half, okay? Then take that half of the mixture out and just plop it in your pan. Once it's in your pan, take the time now to spread it out evenly. Okay, and push it into the pan so you have all the edges, all the corners are covered with bread. Then you're gonna take half the blueberries. So in total, you're using about 1.5 to 2 cups of blueberries. I'm using 2 cups today because I like a lot of blueberries. And whatever amount you choose, you're putting half of the blueberries in right now, moving them around. And then you're taking the other half of the bread mixture, and this time, instead of just placing it all in the center, I want you to scatter around a little bit so we don't disturb the blueberries that we put in there already, okay? So take a little bit more care this time and just scatter the bread pieces around. Oh, this smells so good already. I'm gonna make sure I get all of it in here. You can get a spatula too if you want. My hands are dirty already, so I'm just using my hands. And then making sure that I move this all around. So again, we have a nice level layer of the raw bread pudding. Next, and the last step before it goes in the oven, is our second half of the blueberries. And we're just going to take care to move them around. And then once you're happy with where they're at, just press them in a little bit. So the bread pudding will bake up around the blueberries, but you still want to see them. Now we're going to put this in the oven. 350 degrees, about 45 minutes. All right, there's our timer. Oh yeah. See how much it's raised in the pan, how much is puffed out? So we're just gonna test it. I usually use a butter knife right in the center, and it should come out fairly clean. It does, beautiful, we're done. And as this sits, it's gonna sink down a little bit. Don't panic, it's still gonna be fantastic. It's just what happens, okay? So we'll let that rest just about 10 minutes, and then we'll serve it up. I like to serve it up when it's a bit warm still so the ice cream melts over. Let me show you how I fix this up. So just get in there with a spoon. Oh yeah, look at that. Now, a lot of people say that they don't like bread pudding. And when I ask them why, they say, well, I don't like all the runny bread and stuff like that. You know what? If it's runny, it's not cooked enough. You gotta make sure it's cooked enough so that the eggs coagulate and the whole custard sets in there like that. So that's what we've done here. Made sure that it's nice and set. Let's put a little bit more on there. Beautiful, look at that beautiful bread pudding. And you can see it's not runny at all. We're gonna top that off with a little bit of ice cream. So again, when it's nice and hot like that, the ice cream is gonna melt and create this nice, beautiful, creamy sauce on top of our beautiful blueberry bread pudding. Just top it off with a little mint leaf, get a nice bright green color on the top. There you have it. Blueberry bread pudding by BC Egg. Make sure you check out the full recipe at bcegg.com, and you'll find there a whole bunch of other great tips, tricks, and recipes. And this is Chef Dez signing out. Where are you getting your protein from?